great-grandmother had been here for 10 years, yet spoke no English. Oh, my gosh. 1930 census says Tommy's 3 times great-grandmother had been here for 41 years and still spoke German. She didn't speak English either. She doesn't even know her own history. She certainly doesn't know this country's history.
Well, there is a woman over the weekend who took it upon herself to research my family history in hopes of digging up some kind of a gotcha moment, a gotcha angle to validate illegal immigration and open borders. And what she found was really shocking, guys. She found that my family who came here in the 1800s from Norway and Germany, that they spoke Norwegian and German.
Okay.
And really what she did is prove that my family came here legally.
Sunny Honey just got absolutely dismantled by Lauren in what can only be described as a verbal demolition derby. What started as a typical smug exchange quickly spiraled into a ruthless takedown. Sunny walked into the conversation unprepared. No helmet, no strategy, just vibes. And Lauren came in swinging like she had something to prove. This wasn't your average debate. Lauren unearthed more than just weak arguments. She dragged out liberal double standards, hypocrisy, and maybe even a few skeletons Sunny hoped were long buried. It wasn't subtle, and it wasn't kind. It was a masterclass in public dismantling. Sunny, who usually speaks like she's trying to win a Nobel Prize with every sentence, couldn't keep up. By the end, all that polished persona had been peeled back layer by layer like a Kardashian wedding cake. Glamorous on the outside, but filled with drama inside. If CNN didn't file a wellness check, they probably should have.
What she was hoping to do was try to call me a hypocrite for believing in merit-based immigration. Again, she failed miserably. But this really isn't what she calls resistance genealogy. It's just another indication of Trump derangement syndrome. But I really am happy, though, that she has such a fascination with my family history, and I'm hoping that she will take on Elizabeth Warren's next.
Wow, that would be very interesting.
Lauren, who treats hot takes like gasoline and every appearance like her personal bonfire, didn't just roast Sunny Hostin. She torched her down to the foundation. Sunny didn't fall from grace. She crumbled like a Jenga tower made of smug tweets and tired talking points. She's the type who enters a room, sniffs out conflict, and starts mentally scripting a TED Talk nobody asked for. Overdramatic, always. Self-righteous, without fail. She's the Duchess of Deep Sighs and the High Priestess of, as a woman of color, usually right before she drops a take so cringe it could curdle milk. But this time, she met her match. Sunny and her View Squad came in ready for battle. But in heels and unchecked egos, they slipped hard. Lauren didn't flinch. She held up a mirror so sharp it cut straight through the performance. Sunny didn't just lose the argument, she unraveled. And that stings more than any headline ever could.
It's from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from...
Sunny Hostin's entire persona hinges on being the intellectual of The View, which, let's be honest, is like being the wisest emoji in a group chat from your aunt. Her formula is painfully predictable. Flash that moral superiority card, sprinkle in some elite jargon, and deliver it all with a tone that screams, "I skimmed the Constitution once, therefore I am the Constitution." The real problem? The moment someone challenges her to actually back up her takes, it's like watching a goldfish explain quantum physics, complete with dramatic pauses, hair flips, and enough indignation to fuel an entire Bravo season.
Did you provide them with DNA, 23andMe? Because I cannot believe the detail on your background that they were able to get.
Well, I don't have to. She did all the research for me, so I'm sure my family is very appreciative.
What about Joy saying, though, what are your skills? It's beyond research. It is personal. It is mean.
Well, of course, this is classical Joy Behar, but I would like to ask Joy Behar what her skills are, because perhaps we could swap stories. I know I watch Joy, and she seems like a highly skilled lady, but for her to attack me, that's really interesting. Those in glass houses should not throw stones.
It all started, of course, with Sunny taking a predictable swipe at conservatives, painting them as rage-fueled Neanderthals with Wi-Fi. In her world, if you're even slightly right of Bernie Sanders, you're basically wearing a tinfoil hat and yelling at the clouds. Perched on the View couch like the Thanos of woke hot takes, she snapped her fingers, expecting nuance, facts, and dissent to disappear. But then Lauren stepped in, and everything changed. Calm, collected, and armed with receipts, timelines, and actual facts, Lauren delivered her counter like a precision strike. Her quiet confidence sliced through Sunny's TV-polished bravado, exposing the shallow theatrics underneath. What started as a smug monologue from Sunny deflated fast, like a sad party balloon meeting reality. Lauren didn't just challenge a few points, she unraveled Sunny's entire persona. Moral outrage on trend, elites speak without depth, and performative intellect dressed up as wisdom. The takedown wasn't loud, it was surgical, and it was devastating.
About you that bothers him so much.
Well, it's not just me, it's anybody who advocates for merit-based immigration or has an issue with open borders. And again, just like you said, they don't seem to understand that we on the right believe in immigration. We understand that we are a nation of immigrants, and I am proud of my heritage. However, I do believe that the immigration crisis of today is apples to oranges from what it was in the 1800s when immigrants came to this country legally, were documented, worked for themselves, asked for nothing, and built a life and a family. That has nothing to do with the illegal immigration crisis of today that we must deal with. But they don't want to acknowledge that.
Let's talk about Sunny Hostin's greatest hits, those dramatic monologues on democracy and freedom, dripping with polished words and performative passion. She loves playing the gatekeeper of democracy, but only if you pass her ideological vibe check. Disagree with her? Suddenly your mic, your credibility, and maybe even your right to breathe are on the chopping block. It's free speech with a velvet rope, and guess who's working the door like a power-hungry intern? Yep, Sunny. But then Lauren showed up with cold, hard receipts, and the designer mask started slipping fast. One factual call-out, and Sunny froze like a wine snob, realizing her $200 bottle is boxed Merlot in disguise. She stammered, side-eyed, and clutched her pearls like they were begging her to stop. Her confidence? Gone. Sunny's backup plan? Just louder smugness or a desperate commercial break. And Lauren didn't stop there. She exposed Sunny's identity politics game too, like it was Pokemon: collect, deploy, deflect.
I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
And it is funny. She's so wrapped up in identity, and she had no idea who she was.
To Sunny Hostin, identity isn't just who she is, it's ammunition. Every debate, she rolls out her moral Pokemon deck. Woman, Latina, lawyer, martyr, oracle, and honorary Harvard expert on whatever she just Googled. Her resume is her mic drop, played before the topic even starts. Sunny loves to call others condescending, yet delivers every take with that "I'm not mad, just disappointed" professor tone, like you cited Wikipedia in a PhD thesis. Her obsession with virtue signaling is Olympic level. She's turned public correctness into a full-time job, complete with benefits, a pension, and probably a branded mug. Disagree? Prepare for a soul cleanse.
During the Obama years, it was a cattle call to come into this nation illegally. And furthermore, this is again the left's attempt at emotional blackmail. And I would just like to state, I don't know if they understand this or not, but if you don't want your family to be broken up when you cross the border illegally, here's an idea. Don't cross the border illegally. Then your family will surely stay together. I don't don't know why the left can't think of this, but they would rather try to tell us that we hate families, we want to break up families, we're horrible, we're despicable. No, we want to enforce federal immigration law.
Then Lauren flipped the script. She held up a mirror, and Sunny didn't like what she saw. Because here's the truth. If you're going to play moral compass for America, you can't keep picking and choosing when your values apply. Lauren called it out with precision, reminding everyone that real integrity isn't worn like a fashion statement. It's carried even when it's inconvenient. That's when things got messy. Sunny fumbled, mumbled, and like clockwork, hit her panic button. Out came the go-to deflection. Invoke personal struggle. In Sunnyland, when the argument starts slipping, just shout, as a woman of color, and poof, accountability disappears. But Lauren didn't blink. She stayed cool, calm, and absolutely surgical, laying out contradiction after contradiction like receipts on a checkout belt. Each one sharper than the last. No theatrics, no yelling, just fact after fact, peeling back the glossy surface of Sunny's moral branding until there was nothing left but spin.
I think you've resonated with so many people.
I think, in large part, I represent middle America. So you've got the two coasts, and those individuals seem to kind of just talk to each other. And then you've got all of middle America right there that's dying to have a voice. They don't really feel like they have one. They're not represented, beyond their communities. So I think they watch me and they say, well, she speaks like I do. She thinks like I do. She seems to maybe get it like I do, and I think that's why it's resonated. And also, I do something very different. There's not a whole lot of young conservative women out there, and so I provide that for a lot of...
What really broke Sunny wasn't just the facts. It was how effortlessly Lauren delivered them. She dismantled Sunny's polished outrage like it was a warm-up round. That signature indignation, gone in a puff of ego, like a balloon in a porcupine factory, loud, messy, and impossible to ignore. Watching Sunny scramble to salvage her intellectual pride was better than anything on Bravo. No edits, just pure, unfiltered chaos. Because when your brand is built on smug sound bites and hashtag heroism, eventually someone reads the fine print. And Lauren did. Sunny's persona? It's an overpriced TED Talk no one asked for. Overproduced, under-researched, and background noise at best.
We keep on talking about criminals and immigrants being criminals. And I just want people to understand what the facts are and the stats are, is that undocumented immigrants are much less likely to have committed crimes than American citizens. American citizens commit more crimes than anyone who is undocumented. I also want to make the point that an undocumented immigrant is not a criminal because he or she is undocumented. That is a civil offense. So to call people illegals is, in and of itself, I think, xenophobic and racist.
While Sunny sipped self-righteousness from her moral penthouse, the foundation beneath her crumbled, one contradiction at a time. Each time she shut down dissent, dodged a real challenge, or folded under factual pressure, her intellectual credibility took a quiet, brutal hit. And when the dust settled, the usual defenders rushed in, claiming she was ambushed or taken out of context. Please, if irony had a face, it'd be side-eyeing, that a take. Sunny practically invented the passive-aggressive sneak attack, mastering the art of, with all due respect, right before body-slamming opponents with Ivy League smugness and daytime TV charm. She's made a career out of sounding superior while smiling sweetly. But this time, the charm wore thin. No carefully timed sigh or polished takedown could save her. Sunny Hostin, the self-appointed intellectual force of The View, got steamrolled. And Lauren, she didn't shout, didn't posture, didn't even flinch. It wasn't just a loss, it was a calm, calculated dismantling.
If Democrats really want to die on the hill of bringing back plane loads of criminal, illegal alien gang members...
But you haven't proven that they're criminals.
Please,
that's the problem.
Be my guest.
Honestly, look, I will be the first one to say, if there is a criminal, if there's a gang member in this country, someone who has committed any crime, big or small, get him out, sure. I'll absolutely concede that. We don't need criminals in this country. But if you're talking about somebody who you don't know because you haven't afforded them due process, process, then you can't just make that claim.
But the fact remains, President Trump is not only securing our border, but he is deporting criminal, illegal aliens. And if Democrats want to stand in the way of that, and they want to tell their constituents, hey, vote for us in the midterms, vote for us in 2028, we'll make sure that the criminal aliens come back, far be it for me to stand in your...
All Lauren had to do was metaphorically hold up the mirror, and Sunny Hostin crumbled under her own reflection. Every smug smirk, every proud head tilt, every ounce of overcooked self-importance baked into her delivery was thrown back at her with surgical precision. This wasn't a rare misstep in an otherwise stellar run. It was the grand finale of a meltdown that's been simmering for years. Sunny's been cracking under the weight of her own ego so long, someone should have handed her a hard hat and taped off the stage. Fragile opinions may collapse under pressure. Because Sunny's takes, they've never really been about the issues. They've always been about her, about how intensely she feels about the issues. Less, here's what matters, more, here's why I matter. Every sentence starts with a smug intro. What's important to understand is, and unrolls into a drama-packed soliloquy, not substance. But this time, no applause, just blinking silence. Enter Lauren, cool, calm, unbothered. She didn't yell, didn't flinch, didn't even try to compete. She let Sunny self-destruct. No soap opera antics, just quiet demolition. Sunny handed over the matches and Lauren simply watched the tower fall, built not on truth, but performance.
I have a question of my own. Do you lock your doors at home? At your residence, do you have a lock on your door? Do you use that lock?
I do, yeah, I do.
You have an alarm?
And why is that? I mean, you lock your door because you want to know who's coming into your home. It's not because you hate the people outside, it's because you love the people inside. Well, that's what needs to be done with the United States of America. That's why we have a border. We have a right to know who's coming into our country and why. That's what keeps us.
And that's the brilliance of it all. Lauren wasn't critiquing Sunny. She was watching her unravel, thinking she was winning. It was poetic, wild, and unforgettable. Lauren didn't need to shout or insult. She simply held up a giant mirror and let Sunny see herself. Every smug smirk, every condescending glance, every logic-free leap came right back at her. No interruptions, no chaos, just pure reflection. This wasn't a debate, it was a public service announcement. Sometimes the best way to win is to let them talk themselves into the ground. And Sunny did, but don't worry, she'll be back. Daytime TV's Teflon Queen.
But what I would like to point out is that there is no correlation between undocumented people and a rise in crime. That's statistically accurate. Immigrants, including undocumented immigrants, are less likely to commit crimes in the United States. So this notion somehow that it's about national security, I think is just false.
Like me, you would believe differently.
But you know what, Alyssa, the woman.
So, but just to understand, are we saying, do we think the vast majority of Americans are racist? That's what I'm trying to help me understand.
I think that there is a significant portion that are racist, and you can't dismiss my lived experience.
But Lauren didn't just call Sunny out. She steamrolled her like a verbal bulldozer on cruise control. No rage, no drama, just something far more dangerous. Coherence. In a world full of shout fests and rehearsed clapbacks, Lauren's calm presence cut through it all. Sunny, on the other hand, came unarmed to a logic fight. So next time she gears up for another battle of wits, let's hope she brings some ammo. Because this segment proved one thing. A podium doesn't make you right, a platform doesn't make you wise, and a smirk definitely doesn't make you untouchable, especially when your argument crumbles faster than a gluten-free cookie.